Sometimes the smallest hands hold the greatest power. I whispered the words to myself as I adjusted the blanket over Oliver, his tiny chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. The hospital room smelled faintly of antiseptic and warm baby lotion, a contrast that made the quiet hum of the monitors even more oppressive. I had been running on 3 hours of sleep, chasing my own exhaustion down the hallways, yet every fiber of my being was drawn to him. His little fingers twitched, and I reached out, brushing a soft curl away from his forehead. The beep of the heart monitor synchronized with the soft thump of my own heartbeat, each pulse a reminder that life was fragile, fleeting, and entirely unpredictable. My hands trembled as I checked the tubing and adjusted the small oxygen mask, ensuring it was snug but not tight, careful not to cause him discomfort. The dim overhead lights flickered slightly, casting long shadows across the walls lined with framed diplomas and certificates, all meant to reassure visitors that the care here was competent, professional. But it didn't matter how many certificates hung above the nurse's station when the gravity of a moment like this pressed down on your chest. That was when the door opened, and he stepped in, every inch the presence I had only glimpsed in photographs and passing mentions, a man whose reputation alone could command silence. Ethan Blackwood, tall, impeccably dressed, with dark hair that caught the subtle hospital light, and eyes so piercing they seemed to measure every ounce of attention I gave, every careful movement I made. His lips pressed into a thin line, hands clasped behind his back, shoulders squared like a general surveying the field, yet his gaze softened ever so slightly as it lingered on his son. Oliver stirred, and Ethan's jaw tightened imperceptibly, the tension in the room snapping taut. I bit my lip and murmured, "He's stable for now," my voice almost lost in the hum of the machines. Ethan's eyes flicked to me, unreadable, and I felt the weight of unspoken judgment. I continued, "I've checked the monitors, his vitals are within acceptable limits. He needs a few more hours of careful observation." The silence that followed felt like it stretched for miles, every tick of the wall clock amplifying the rhythm of my nerves. My eyes never left Oliver, watching. His tiny eyelids flutter as he tried to adjust to the sensations of the world around him, so different from the ones most take for granted. Then I noticed it. A small, curious twitch of his fingers, a momentary pause in his breathing pattern, signaling a shift, a subtle sign that his body was communicating in ways words never could. Without thinking, I reached into my bag, fingers brushing against the cold metal of a small device I had brought, something unconventional, something that might offer a breakthrough. Ethan's gaze snapped to my hands, sharp, precise, assessing every motion. His lips parted slightly, a rare crack in his composed demeanor. I met his eyes, holding my breath as I activated the device, a soft glow illuminating the contours of Oliver's small face. The baby's head turned slightly, his little ears catching a vibration, a sound, a signal. Ethan's eyes widened imperceptibly, a mixture of shock and awe passing through them, though he tried to hide it behind the familiar mask of control. I whispered to Oliver, "It's okay, you can try," and his tiny hands curled around the edge of the blanket, hesitant but deliberate. A small smile, almost imperceptible, crossed Ethan's face, a flicker of something I hadn't thought possible in him, vulnerability. The monitors beeped in steady rhythm, and for the first time since I had arrived that night, the tension in the room lifted slightly, replaced by something fragile and hopeful. I adjusted my position on the chair beside the crib, letting the soft hum of the hospital blend with the quiet interaction unfolding, my voice low and soothing, narrating each motion and adjustment with care. Ethan leaned forward slightly, his dark eyes tracing every movement, learning, observing, and for a fleeting moment, the two of us existed in a shared focus on Oliver, the three of us suspended in time, bound by circumstance, necessity, and an unspoken recognition that the world outside had no bearing here. Every tiny breath, every subtle shift of his body, was a victory, and I whispered again, "You're safe, Oliver. You're safe with us." The rain outside tapped softly against the window, a steady, gentle percussion that mirrored the quiet yet potent rhythm of our lives converging in that room, a night defined by care, trust, and a silent promise that no matter the chaos beyond these walls, the smallest hands could indeed hold the greatest power. The room settled into a hushed rhythm, punctuated only by the soft beeping of the monitors and the distant echo of the night shift nurses moving down the hall. I shifted slightly in my chair, careful not to disturb Oliver, and adjusted the blanket once more, smoothing the edges with gentle precision. Ethan remained standing near the crib, his dark eyes scanning every detail of the monitors, the devices, and most of all, the small figure sleeping within. I could sense the quiet intensity radiating from him, a presence that seemed to fill the space without a sound. He finally spoke, his voice low and deliberate. "Do you think he will respond?" I met his gaze, aware of the weight in his question, and I replied carefully, "He already is. You just cannot see it yet. Every tiny movement, every blink, it is a language of its own." Ethan's hands unclasped behind his back and rested on the edge of the crib. He leaned slightly, just enough to peer over the side without alarming Oliver, and I watched a shadow of concern cross his otherwise composed expression. The soft glow of the night lights reflected in his eyes, revealing a flicker of something I rarely saw in him: genuine uncertainty. I adjusted the device, ensuring that it was calibrated correctly, each setting precise to the millimeter, and waited. The device emitted a subtle hum, a vibration that Oliver could feel even if he could not hear. I held my breath as his small hand twitched, curling toward the source of the sensation, a response that sent a jolt of relief through me. Ethan's lips parted slightly, and his gaze softened imperceptibly, though the control in his posture never wavered. He exhaled slowly and whispered, almost to himself, "He has your persistence." I smiled faintly, realizing he meant that as a compliment of sorts, though it was unspoken and layered with his usual measured tone. I carefully lifted my hand to rest over Oliver's tiny fist, guiding him gently to maintain contact with the device, and watched as his eyes brightened subtly, a sign of recognition and awareness. The air in the room seemed to grow warmer, the tension easing incrementally with each passing second. Ethan moved to a chair near the crib, lowering himself with deliberate caution, as if sitting too quickly might shatter the fragile balance we had established. His gaze never left his son, and for the first time, I noticed a shift in his demeanor, an almost imperceptible softening that made the room feel less like a controlled observation and more like a shared moment. I spoke softly, narrating each adjustment and reassurance, ensuring that both of them felt the connection without the need for words. "Oliver, you are safe. You are learning, and we are here with you," I murmured, letting the calm cadence of my voice fill the silence. Ethan nodded subtly, absorbing the information, his hand reaching out to brush a stray curl from Oliver's forehead with unexpected gentleness. Time seemed suspended, the world outside forgotten as we existed solely in the quiet urgency of the room. Each small movement from Oliver was a victory, a proof of progress, and I allowed myself a brief exhale of relief as I observed him begin to respond more deliberately to the device. Ethan's gaze followed mine, tracking every twitch, every subtle indication of awareness, and I could feel an unspoken understanding forming between us. We were both witnesses to a transformation, the fragile line between uncertainty and hope narrowing with every moment. The night stretched on, and I remained at his side, adjusting, guiding, observing, speaking softly when necessary, the delicate hum of the device blending with the rhythmic beeps of the monitors. Ethan's posture, once rigid, had relaxed slightly, the tension in his shoulders softening, though his presence remained commanding and attentive. It was in these quiet interactions, these carefully measured movements and words, that trust began to build, not with a single act, but with the steady constancy of care and attention. I leaned back just slightly, allowing a small sigh to escape as I watched Oliver engage more fully, his tiny hand following the device with increasing confidence. Ethan exhaled alongside me, a silent acknowledgement of the progress, his eyes lingering on the child, and then on me, with a subtle, almost imperceptible nod. The night outside was calm. The rain had tapered to a gentle drizzle, and in the glow of the hospital lights, a fragile peace settled into the room. Every subtle gesture, every quiet interaction, was a testament to resilience, attention, and the slow, deliberate unfolding of connection between a child, his father, and the woman who refused to leave his side. We remained that way, the three, of us intertwined in a silent rhythm, the hum of life and possibility threading through the quiet darkness. The soft hum of the monitors continued to fill the room as Oliver's small fingers explored the device with increasing confidence, his eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and determination. I leaned closer, careful to keep my voice low and calm, narrating each gentle movement. "You are doing so well, Oliver. Keep going." The subtle vibration of the device seemed to synchronize with the rhythm of his breathing, creating a quiet harmony that made the room feel less clinical and more intimate, a shared space of focus and care. Ethan remained seated nearby, his posture still commanding yet noticeably relaxed, his gaze fixed on his son with a meticulous intensity that betrayed the depth of his concern. Every now and then, his hand would brush a stray curl from Oliver's forehead or adjust the blanket with careful precision, small gestures that revealed a vulnerability beneath his usual controlled exterior. I adjusted my position to better reach Oliver's side, my movements deliberate and gentle, allowing him to remain in contact with the device while I checked the calibration and ensured the settings were precise. The soft glow of the device reflected in Ethan's eyes, and for a fleeting moment, the hardened edges of his expression softened as he observed the subtle signs of progress. I murmured encouragements, narrating each step as I guided Oliver's tiny hands, careful to reinforce the connection between his actions and the feedback from the device. "You see, every little movement matters," I whispered, letting the cadence of my words anchor the fragile rhythm of the moment. Ethan exhaled slowly, a barely perceptible sigh, his eyes scanning every twitch, every shift, as if memorizing a language of gestures that spoke louder than words. The quiet intensity in the room was punctuated only by the steady beeping of the monitors and the gentle hum of the device, creating an almost meditative atmosphere where the focus was entirely on the small victories that marked Oliver's progress. I observed a slight furrow in Ethan's brow, a sign that he was both calculating and processing. Yet there was a subtle shift in the way he leaned forward, a small acknowledgement of the trust forming between us. I guided Oliver's hand once more, encouraging a movement that seemed hesitant at first but gradually became more deliberate, and his eyes lit up with the recognition of his own capability. Ethan's gaze met mine briefly, a silent communication passing between us, an unspoken agreement that these moments, though quiet, were powerful in their impact. The night stretched onward, and I remained vigilant, narrating softly, adjusting gently, every motion considered and precise, as Ethan observed, learning, absorbing, and perhaps realizing the significance of the care and attention being offered. Oliver responded with subtle, deliberate movements, each one a triumph that reverberated in the stillness, and I allowed myself a brief internal smile, noting the way Ethan's posture reflected a gradual release of tension, his eyes lingering on his son with a mixture of pride, concern, and awe. The ambient light cast soft shadows across the room, highlighting the careful movements and attentive expressions, and in that son while his hands fidgeted almost imperceptibly with the edge of the chair, betraying a faint tension beneath his composed exterior. The room was quiet except for the soft beeps of the monitors and the subtle hum of the device, creating a rhythm that seemed to synchronize with the ebb and flow of our attention. I adjusted the device with meticulous care, making sure the vibrations were consistent, then lightly guided Oliver's small hand to respond to each pulse, narrating softly, "You feel that? That is your own power, your own signal. You are learning." Ethan's gaze flicked toward me, a subtle question in his expression, and I nodded, letting him understand without words that progress, though fragile, was real. Feel the room being held together by shared focus and quiet attentiveness. I murmured once more, narrating gently, "You are doing something extraordinary, Oliver. Every small action matters." The ambient light reflected off the polished surfaces of the monitors and equipment, casting a warm glow over the three of us, making the clinical space feel more personal, more alive. Each careful movement, each gentle touch, every attentive glance wove an invisible thread connecting us, creating a safe space where learning and recognition could occur without distraction or fear. Ethan's breathing slowed, a small but noticeable exhale of relief, and he leaned forward slightly, his presence both commanding and comforting, a subtle anchor for Oliver. The room seemed suspended in time, every heartbeat, every flicker of movement, every soft whisper contributing to a quiet rhythm of connection, trust, and emerging understanding. Here with you. His eyes brightened slightly, following the subtle pulses of the device, and I could see recognition forming, a small but tangible spark of awareness. Ethan's gaze met mine briefly, a silent acknowledgement passing between us, a quiet understanding that each tiny success, though invisible to the outside world, was a monumental achievement here, in this room. The ambient light reflected softly across the monitors and equipment, casting a gentle glow over Oliver's small form, and I allowed myself a careful exhale, relieved to see the progression unfolding. Harmony, each moment building trust, fostering awareness, and weaving a delicate thread of connection that would hold us together long after the night had passed. The room had settled into a quiet rhythm, the soft hum of the device blending seamlessly with the gentle beeping of the monitors. Oliver's small hands were now moving with a purposeful confidence, exploring the vibrations with careful curiosity. I leaned slightly closer, my voice low and deliberate, narrating each movement. That is it, Oliver. You are understanding, you are connecting. We are right here with you. The subtle shift in his expression, the faint widening of his eyes, reflected recognition, a spark of awareness that sent a pulse of reassurance through the room. Ethan remained seated, his dark eyes fixed on his son with unwavering focus, observing each micro-movement, each reaction, the intensity in his posture softened by the quiet pride that was beginning to show. He shifted just enough to rest a hand near Oliver, a gesture of support that was steady but unobtrusive, allowing the child space to explore while offering reassurance. The ambient light caught the edge of his dark hair and sharp features, casting soft shadows that mirrored the care in his movements, the patience in his gaze. I guided Oliver's small fingers along the device, careful to narrate each motion. You are doing beautifully. Every movement counts. Every little action matters. His eyes followed mine, and I could sense a growing awareness, a recognition that the world, though silent and sound, was rich with sensation and possibility. Ethan's hands clasped together loosely on his lap, then rested gently on the edge of the crib as he leaned in slightly, his eyes scanning every detail, every twitch, every subtle motion with a precise attentiveness that spoke volumes about his concern and his pride. I allowed my hand to hover near Oliver, ready to guide but not interfere, speaking softly, reinforcing the bond and the learning. See how your hands respond. See how the signals guide you. You are safe, and you are learning. The device's gentle hum and the monitor's rhythmic beeps created a comforting cadence, a heartbeat for the room, and I could feel a quiet connection forming, binding the three of us together in a delicate, steady understanding. Oliver's small hand curled around the device, tentative at first, then more deliberate, his eyes bright with recognition and curiosity. Ethan leaned slightly forward, dark eyes softening as he observed the progress, a small but noticeable shift in the usual rigidity of his presence. He exhaled slowly, a silent acknowledgement of the careful patience and attention unfolding, and for the first time, there was an almost imperceptible smile that flickered across his face, brief yet meaningful. I continued guiding Oliver, narrating each adjustment, each interaction with steady reassurance. Every movement is yours, every gesture matters, and you are safe here. The room felt suspended in time, a delicate balance of focus, care, and trust, every breath and glance reinforcing the connection between father, son, and caregiver. Ethan's hand moved subtly to hover just above Oliver's, a gesture that anchored the child with a quiet reassurance, not overbearing, just present, a constant in the room. The three of us existed in a shared rhythm, a silent understanding flowing through the space, where each small victory, each micro-response, carried profound significance. The ambient glow highlighted the careful gestures, the attentive expressions, and the tiny, deliberate movements that marked Oliver's progress, weaving a narrative of connection, patience, and trust. I whispered softly, narrating and reinforcing. You are learning, you are safe, and we are right here with you. And Ethan's eyes met mine with a subtle, steady acknowledgement, a silent agreement that the night, the care, and the attention were forging bonds that would endure beyond this quiet, suspended moment. The room remained calm, the soft drizzle outside tapping gently against the window, and within the warm glow of the hospital lights, the three of us remained bound in a fragile, steadfast harmony, a delicate interplay of focus, trust, and emerging awareness. The early hours of the morning carried a quiet stillness that enveloped the hospital room, the soft glow of the monitors casting gentle reflections across the walls, and the subtle hum of the device resonating in delicate harmony. Oliver's small hands moved with growing confidence, exploring the vibrations with a tentative curiosity that gradually became deliberate, his bright eyes wide with focus and wonder. I leaned closer, careful to keep my voice steady and calm, narrating each gentle movement. That is it, Oliver. Every small gesture matters. You are discovering and connecting. Each slight curl of his fingers, each tiny adjustment of his posture, felt monumental in the fragile quiet of the room, a testament to his growing awareness and resilience. Ethan remained close by, seated with his posture both commanding and attentive, dark eyes following every twitch and subtle reaction of his son, a faint tension softening in the set of his shoulders. He shifted slightly, resting his hand near Oliver without intrusion, a silent offering of reassurance and stability, the smallest of gestures carrying immense weight. I adjusted the device carefully, ensuring each vibration remained precise and consistent, guiding Oliver's fingers with a gentle touch while continuing to speak softly. You are safe, you are learning, and we are right here with you. Ethan's gaze followed each movement intently, absorbing the progress with a mix of astonishment and quiet pride, his expression relaxing imperceptibly with each sign of recognition in Oliver's eyes. The room seemed suspended in time, every heartbeat, every flicker of awareness, every careful touch threading a silent narrative of trust, attention, and connection that bound the three of us together. Oliver responded with increasing certainty, his movements more deliberate, the recognition in his eyes mirrored by the subtle softening of Ethan's features. I murmured softly, narrating each adjustment. That is it, every movement counts, every gesture matters. Ethan leaned in just slightly, dark eyes filled with an intense focus and a trace of admiration, observing the small triumphs and the unfolding understanding in a way that spoke volumes without words. The gentle beeping of the monitors and the steady hum of the device created a rhythmic backdrop, a quiet cadence that seemed to synchronize our attention, drawing us into a shared focus on the fragile, yet remarkable, progress of the child. I guided Oliver's hand, careful to provide just enough support while allowing him to explore independently, narrating in a soft, steady voice, reinforcing the connection. You are doing so well. We are right here with you, every step of the way. Ethan's hand hovered briefly above his son, a subtle and silent presence that offered comfort without interference, a quiet anchor in the room's soft glow. The three of us existed in a delicate balance, each breath, each glance, each small action weaving a tapestry of trust and shared purpose, a rhythm that held the room together in stillness and anticipation. Oliver's fingers curled slightly around the device, guided gently by both observation and encouragement, his eyes bright with curiosity and recognition, while Ethan's posture reflected a slow, deliberate relaxation, a subtle acknowledgement of the quiet victories taking place before him. I continued narrating softly, my words a steady thread linking action with reassurance. Every motion is important, every gesture is yours, and you are safe here with us. The ambient light reflected across the monitors and the soft surfaces of the room, highlighting the careful movements, the attentive glances, and the fragile, emergent connection between father, child, and caregiver. Ethan exhaled slowly, a faint sound that spoke of relief and quiet pride, and for the first time, his expression revealed a trace of unguarded emotion. The tension in his presence eased just enough to show his deep concern and care. I adjusted my position slightly, ensuring Oliver remained comfortable and fully engaged with the device, narrating each subtle interaction with calm assurance. The room felt suspended in a gentle, deliberate rhythm, a quiet harmony created by the careful attention, patience, and shared focus of all three of us. Every small success, every tentative recognition, every deliberate gesture reinforced the bond forming in that space, the trust growing between father, son, and caregiver, each moment a quiet triumph of patience, connection, and understanding that would resonate far beyond the walls of the hospital room. The soft glow of the monitors cast gentle light across the room, bathing Oliver in a warm, steady illumination that seemed to settle into the quiet rhythm we had established. His small hands moved with increasing purpose over the device, each subtle twitch a testament to the awareness slowly building within him. I adjusted his blanket carefully, ensuring comfort while keeping his fingers free to explore, and spoke softly, narrating each motion. That is it, Oliver. Every small movement matters. You are discovering, you are learning. Ethan remained seated nearby, his dark eyes unwavering, following every gesture, every micro-expression with meticulous attention. There was a subtle shift in his posture, a relaxation that suggested pride and awe, yet the commanding presence he always carried was still evident. He leaned slightly forward, resting a hand on the crib's edge, careful not to intrude, providing an invisible anchor of reassurance that Oliver seemed to sense instinctively. The device emitted a gentle hum, its vibrations now met with increasingly deliberate responses from Oliver, his eyes bright and focused, reflecting both curiosity and recognition. I guided his tiny fingers, narrating in soft, steady tones. See how your hands respond? Every gesture is yours. You are safe, and we are here with you. Ethan's gaze followed every subtle movement, a silent acknowledgement passing between us, a quiet understanding that these moments, though delicate, were filled with significance and progress. The room's quiet was punctuated only by the rhythmic beeping of the monitors, a gentle accompaniment to the evolving interaction that tied father, child, and caregiver together in a shared focus. I shifted slightly, adjusting the device with careful precision while keeping my movements smooth and deliberate, allowing Oliver the space to engage fully while ensuring the connection remained uninterrupted. Ethan exhaled softly, a faint sound of relief and pride, his eyes lingering on Oliver, then on me, as if sharing a silent appreciation for the patience and dedication required in this quiet endeavor. I narrated each subtle adjustment. Every motion counts. Every touch, every glance, is part of your learning, letting the cadence of my voice provide reassurance and continuity. Oliver's hands now moved with deliberate intent, curling around the device, exploring and responding with confidence, while Ethan's expression softened further, a hint of warmth breaking through the composed exterior he always maintained. I watched the subtle interactions, noting the small signs of awareness, and whispered encouragement. You are doing wonderfully, Oliver. Keep exploring. We are right here with you. The ambient light reflected softly across the room, illuminating the careful gestures, the attentive glances, and the fragile, growing connection that bound us together. Ethan leaned back slightly, his hand still hovering near Oliver, providing a calm, protective presence, while I continued guiding and narrating, reinforcing trust and engagement. Each breath, each flicker of attention, each micro-response wove a tapestry of connection, a rhythm of care and understanding that held the room in quiet harmony. Oliver responded with increasing confidence, and for the first time, the subtle smile that passed across Ethan's face was unmistakable, an unguarded expression of pride and gentle admiration. I adjusted my position slightly, allowing for optimal guidance and comfort, while continuing to speak softly, narrating the actions and responses to create a seamless flow of reassurance and recognition. The gentle drizzle outside tapped lightly against the window, blending with the soft hum of the device and the rhythmic beeping of the monitors, creating an enveloping soundscape of calm, focus, and anticipation. Within the quiet glow of the hospital room, the three of us remained intertwined in this delicate balance of attention, trust, and progress, each small gesture and subtle reaction reinforcing the bond and creating a steady, unwavering rhythm of connection, care, and emerging understanding that would carry beyond this night. The first light of dawn filtered through the blinds, casting soft lines across the hospital room, and the gentle hum of the monitors created a quiet, steady rhythm that seemed to echo the careful progress of the night. Oliver lay in his crib, small hands exploring the device with a newfound confidence, his eyes bright and alert, reflecting the growing awareness that had been nurtured through hours of patience and attention. I adjusted his blanket and repositioned the device with careful precision, narrating softly, "You are safe, you are learning, and every little movement counts." Ethan remained close by, seated with a posture that balanced authority and gentle attentiveness, his dark eyes following every motion, every flicker of recognition, and every subtle response from his son. There was a calm in his expression, a quiet pride tempered by the focus that always marked his presence, and I could see a rare softness beginning to emerge as he watched the tiny, deliberate gestures of his child. The device pulsed with gentle vibrations, each one met with deliberate movement from Oliver, his small fingers curling and uncurling in response, and I narrated in a steady, low voice, "That is it, Oliver. Every action you take matters. We are here with you." Ethan leaned slightly forward, one hand resting near the edge of the crib, careful to offer support without interfering, a silent reassurance that seemed to anchor both of us in the delicate balance of the moment. The subtle rhythm of the room, the gentle beeping of the monitors, the soft hum of the device, and the quiet cadence of my voice, wove together into a steady, enveloping presence, carrying us through the fragile progression of awareness and connection. Oliver's eyes followed each movement attentively, the faint recognition of each vibration mirrored in the careful coordination of his tiny hands. I guided him gently, narrating the sequence of actions. "You are discovering, you are understanding. We are right here, every step of the way." Ethan's gaze lingered on his son, dark eyes softened, tracking each motion with quiet reverence, a subtle exhale escaping him as he observed the gradual unfolding of awareness. The room felt suspended in time, each micro-gesture, each attentive glance, each careful touch layering a narrative of connection, trust, and shared focus. I shifted slightly, keeping Oliver comfortable, allowing the device to guide his exploration while narrating softly. "Every movement, every gesture is part of your learning, and you are safe here." Ethan's hand hovered gently above his son, providing a quiet, steady presence, and I could see the subtle interplay of reassurance and observation between father and child taking shape. Oliver responded with deliberate intent, small fingers curling purposefully around the device, eyes reflecting both curiosity and recognition, and I whispered encouragement. "You are doing wonderfully. Keep exploring." The ambient light from the monitors cast soft highlights across the walls, the crib, and the gentle contours of Oliver's small face, illuminating the fragile, evolving bond in the room. Ethan shifted slightly in his chair, a faint, proud smile brushing his features, his attention unwavering, and the subtle tension in his posture relaxed just enough to show the quiet pride and deep care that had been cultivated over these long hours. I narrated each adjustment and interaction, my voice a steady thread linking action to reassurance. "You are learning, Oliver. You are safe, and we are here with you." The soft drizzle outside tapped lightly against the window, blending with the steady hum of the device and the monitor's rhythm, creating a gentle soundscape that held the room together. In the warm glow of the hospital lights, father, son, and caregiver existed in quiet harmony, bound together by patience, trust, and the delicate, unwavering rhythm of care and attention. Each moment, each subtle response, each careful touch wove a tapestry of understanding and connection, and in that serene, suspended space, the fragile triumphs of the night culminated in a profound, shared sense of hope and possibility that would resonate far beyond the quiet walls of the room.